Total War: Warhammer III is the third and latest Warhammer title within the Total War universe. Total War is known for being a great saga of turn-based strategy games focused on historical periods, Rome, Shogun, Napoleon, but its side, Warhammer, fictional universe created by Games Workshop in 1983. Basically it's a board game with war miniatures, explores a magical universe full of action and chaos, bringing a unique style within the franchise. The strategy genre may not be the favorite of most players due to the high levels of complexity they present. However, Total War: Warhammer III offers an experience that helps new players and opens doors for new fans of the franchise. It's amazing how much the game captivates the player and makes you lose track of time while putting together a game plan to be the best with each play. Embarking on the border between the worlds will be a great challenge, but it will certainly be very rewarding. Plot: the great god bear, Urson, is weak. His silence brings the imbalance in world power that is now being fought over by multiple factions. Some warriors seek the god bear's salvation and restoration of power, but others seek to take his place. How does the game work? First of all, it's always good to remember that Total War emerged as a mixture of civilization, resource management, diplomacy, with Age of Empires, battles and armies. However, Total War followed a much better path in both aspects. Unlike what we saw in Humankind, Total War has a greater focus on epic battles and army administration. As with anything that requires planning, Total War: Warhammer III will require patience to learn how things work and caution to craft a war strategy that can lead you to victory. In campaign mode we will have the option to choose our faction. Altogether there are 8 factions and each one has its own characteristics. When choosing a faction, we can also choose its leader who will grant different advantages during the campaign. A very cool thing about this is that each one has different mechanics and battle style, not only in terms of visuals, but also in terms of functionality. This dramatically increases the replay factor, making it almost mandatory. For a better experience during the game, we can carry out the Prologue Mode, which will serve as a tutorial for newbies and an opportunity to remember how things work for long-time players. This mode has an introduction to the story that the game presents and an introduction to the mechanics that we will find later. To tell the story, we will have a series of animations, as in Humankind, and the unfolding of it through dialogues during gameplay. The prologue is long and will take a few hours to complete, but it's a very complete experience and a great way to motivate the player to dive headfirst into the game's universe. As it is a tabletop board game, we will follow the character's movement pattern through the turns. At this point, there's no mistake, just select the character, location or army and use our turn to move them or perform an action. The movement is very good and very lively. It's pretty cool to see a gigantic army battling or running towards a direction, all well organized. Overall, compared to its predecessors, Warhammer III manages to improve the mechanics in practically every way. Many things in relation to the unfolding of the plot, which were previously well-wound and ended up spoiling a little of the final experience, the third title circumvents very well and manages to make the progression more pleasant and satisfying. Factions. From the campaign mode, we cannot choose factions in the prologue. We can choose what type of faction we will have. Each is a different campaign, but one that follows the same story. We will have 8 options and each one with its respective lord, leader, but the game recommends only 2 as ideal for the first campaign, namely, Kislev and Chaos Demons. Kislev, the Zerato of Kislev, or Kingdom of the Ice Queen, is a northern civilization of the Old World. Powerful and bellicose, they represent a Russia of life, with its brute and independent warriors, determined to defend the land. Its main lord, the Ice Witch, Tsarina Katerin and Kostalton. The Kislev battle style offers a hybrid and balanced combat between distance and melee. We can switch between common cavalry and war bears, and between us, this is awesome. They have several magical powers that help in battle and are great for those just starting out. Chaos Demons, a prince who gives up himself to receive the destroying blessings of all chaos gods. He abandons his mortal form and becomes a demon in order to avenge rulers and gods. He has as his lord, the versatile and unpredictable, Demon Prince. The Chaos Demon's battle style allows you to mix the forces of all the Chaos Gods and, if you deal damage with your leader, it will generate glory, which grants random advantages to your army. Great Cathay, the legendary Cathay Empire boasts an imposing army, filled with valiant warriors, unwavering loyalty and unrivaled harmony with war. Travelers to the region mention serpentine dragons to flying sky junks with multicolored ammunition. A group that seeks balance and harmony, as well as yin and yang. They represent the Eastern world, with its giant walls and a guide compass. Its main lords are two leaders who can transform into dragons. The Cathay's battle style is focused on melee and ranged attacks. If they are positioned close together, the harmony between them will grant greater strength. Ogre Kingdoms, in a fantasy universe, there is no way to miss the ogres. Ogres are brutish, hungry humanoids. They treat everything on the basis of brute force, destroying everything in their path. They are henchmen, bandits and mercenaries, doing everything on the basis of reward in order to satisfy Baraka, the god of the ogres. He is lorded over by the glutton, Goldtooth Greasus, and the butcher, Scrag. The ogre's battle style is based on beating, and they can use the Noblers, which would be a kind of gnome, to distract enemies. Khorne, bloody god of the Bronze Throne, located atop the Mountain of Skulls, inviting, no? He cares for nothing but power and killing. Brutality and violence represent them, and his followers swear their total subservience to him. They don't look bad when it comes to chaos, and their motto, blood to the bloody god. He has for his lord, the great Skarbrand, the Exile. This faction's battle style is focused on melee attacks. They have no magic, but are resistant to it. They are basically walking tanks that deal damage. There aren't many tactical options, and they are rewarded every time they damage the enemy. Nurg, the horrible and disgusting god of disease, lord of the plague. He is also the personification of rebirth, as without death there is no life. His strength is weakened when people are healthy, but there's not much to worry about if his followers spread disease around. He is lorded over by the father of plagues, Kugath Plaguefather. The Nurg's battle style is geared towards slow, robust hand-to-hand combat. They are resistant and can be cured. It's the kind of class that takes damage and gets stronger from it. A disgusting spectacle, but in a way, very beautiful to see. Slaanesh, god of excess and hedonism, pleasure as a supreme good. They are elegant and seductive, in a not very aesthetically positive way. He is the youngest of all the gods, as the complexity of emotions is a characteristic of intelligent races. His followers are consumed by their darkest desires and do everything possible and impossible to satisfy their master. Its lord, the beautiful Nkari, it looks like the four arms of Ben 10, only instead of two hands on one of the pairs of arms, it has tweezers. Its colors are turned to seductive colors, with a lilac and purple. The Slaanesh's battle style is focused on agility and the ability to flank their enemies. The focus on speed sacrifices your defense and stamina, so even with a massive army, the delay of a battle could sacrifice your entire team. Tzeentch, transformer of things and god of chaos of magic. Holder of knowledge of destiny. His subjects are manipulative and influential and are always looking for puppets to complete their game of pieces on the board of destruction. He has as lord, the beautiful two-headed bird, Vulture, Kairos Fateweaver. The Tzeentch's battle style is focused on ranged combat, utilizing magic, firepower, and flying units. They can manipulate enemy armies, but are not good at hand-to-hand combat. It is the ideal faction for those aiming at ranged combat. Army. Even with many other possibilities and different mechanics, Total War's focus is on managing your army and fighting battles against your enemies. Warhammer 3 offers a wide variety of soldiers in many different classes. As each faction has its own system, I'm going to synthesize everything to be more dynamic. We have our Lord, and he will be our main focus, at least in the beginning. In it we will be able to add soldiers to our army and recruit them. The building or recruitment of a soldier uses turns to effectively join your army. Each soldier has an integration cost and a maintenance cost. As we battle, we unlock new classes of soldiers, cavalry, archers and others. We will be able to add them according to availability within our own army, and some special soldiers, bears, dragons and others, may have a unique amount within it. Soldiers have a health bar, fatigue, and the unit has a leadership bar. The health and fatigue bar are self-explanatory, but the leadership bar has a less obvious characteristic. It represents our team's will to keep fighting. If we take too many casualties, they'll stop following our orders and might defect. Better run away than let everyone else die, right? It is necessary to be in cities to more fully recruit your soldiers. There we can also stay for our soldiers to recover from battles and rest. It is not possible to leave the city while there are soldiers to be recruited. The more soldiers in the queue, the more turns it will take to explore. Lords and heroes. Our lords will be the protagonists of the game. They will be responsible for commanding armies, motivating them. If they are inclined to give up, we can encourage them if we fight on their side, dominate territories, build cities, build, trade, etc. May vary by faction, but can be customized. Our first contact with a lord will be in the prologue, and he will be able to be equipped with items that we earn during exploration and battles. We can equip them with armor, auxiliaries, they grant a bonus, magic items and others. In the case of the Chaos Demons faction, for example, we can basically assemble our demon completely, head, body, horns, in addition to some unique specializations of the category. We also have other characters that will help us in the achievements and that can also be customized as the main lord. Not everyone has a high level of interaction in this part, but it's a great option to make your character more prepared for the great journey ahead. Heroes can also be customized, just like lords. Heroes will help us by wounding our enemies, killing enemy heroes and stealing information from enemy bases, rewarding the player with a reduction in research turns. Our lords and heroes have a skill tree, so we can upgrade and improve our personal skills, leadership, powers and others. They are very similar to each other, and there are also specific skills for each. In the skills menu we have the possibility to see the character's characteristics, skills, details and attributes, which makes it easier when upgrading in any of these areas. Constructions. We can conquer bases across the map, or we can take them from enemies. Once we are in possession of the place, we can build our base and evolve it into cities. Cities can be both simple and protected, and the largest fortifications can be raised to level 5. Within cities we can build things that will add to it in some way. Building locations will make our civilization grow and be able to maintain it, both financially and in terms of resources. We can follow the development of the city through the menu that appears when we select it. Again, all builds will take a certain amount of turns to happen. There are numerous building options and upgrade levels. We have from farms to a soldier recruitment center. We can also build places to store provisions and train our warriors. The game offers a construction tree, separating each one by type and level. They can generate an internal income that will pay for soldiers' upkeep and maintain control of the city's treasury. If we mismanage our economies, we can have serious losses. We can cut costs by dismissing people from our army, but it's always good to know who can leave and who should stay. Technology. Conducting technological research will allow new constructions to be possible. Within the technology category, we can upgrade practically everything we will use during gameplay, from the basics of handling materials to the evolution of combat and commercial management of our civilization. Each research takes around 4 turns, while those that require a certain amount of research carried out may take a little longer. There are so many features and rewards that we have in relation to technology that talking about them all is unfeasible. One thing is for sure, managing the evolution of society by making strategic choices about what to evolve is quite a feat. It requires a lot of caution and precision, as any ill-considered choice could lead to a delay or even disaster for your faction. Bases. Bases can be both friendly and enemy. Some will be neutral and allow this adaptation, while others, there is no argument, will be your rivals. They are the cities and provinces that will be around you. Attacking a neutral base will let you choose what you want to do with that place if you win. Each option may result in a cost, either to your army or to your city's treasury. We can clean the place and occupy it, as we can only occupy or destroy it. After we dominate the place, we can build and use it as a base for our lords. Attacking an enemy base might not be that simple. If this city is well developed, the risks of defeat are high. To get around this situation, you can weaken your protection or attack cautiously. This will cost you a few turns and may not have the expected result. However, whenever you have this option, it is the smartest and can avoid a heavier battle. If our base is attacked by enemies, we will not be able to recruit soldiers, and if we are doing so, we will not. We can use our heroes to try to hurt or kill the enemies that are attacking us. By defeating them, your base will be damaged and you will have to restore it to remain effective. Battles. There's no denying it, this is probably the most awaited part of the review. Warhammer III's battle system takes everything that worked in previous games together and improves it significantly. In other strategy games in the style, they may even have a nice combat system, but none is as well designed as in Total War. Here's where the bug really catches on. Disputing territories could be simply exchanging a cool idea with the opponent and solving everything in peace, but in this case, fighting can solve many problems, as long as you are the one who hits and not the one who gets beaten. After recruiting our soldiers and effectively going into a fight, we can position our army across the landscape in whatever way we see fit. Each class type will be separated in a standard way throughout the beginning of battle, but the right time to plan the attack is before starting the confrontation. Before each conflict, we can see what the possibility of victory and defeat will be, as well as how much of our people we will lose. On the initial confrontation screen, we can select the option to battle automatically, only recommended when you have a chance to win. Otherwise, fight to try your luck to win, battle manually and/or flee the battle. There are not always automatic and escape options, it all depends on the type of conflict. It is worth remembering that there are several types of victories and defeats. We can win courageously or win in an ordinary way. The same goes for defeat, it can be honorable or humiliating. Our soldiers act as the player orders and automatically. In an advantageous environment for archers, such as a mountain, for example, we can order them to take an enemy troop by surprise and let them fire either on our orders or prepared to fire at all times. It all depends on what your intention is at the moment. Soldiers will tire if they attack non-stop, so it's not a good option to always leave it on. We can work with each troop separately or we can form groups. Joining 2 units will make you have control over both of them at once and position them the way you want by the space allowed in the scenario. The order that the soldiers are in can and should change with each combat. A placement that favors a ranged attack will not necessarily be favorable in a different environment, even less so with a different group of enemies. The same goes for conflicts that have walls. Archers will help defeat enemies, but they won't break down walls, so it's necessary to have brute force people up front. Important to remember that there are tools we can build to breach walls or break down gates. It is always good to be aware of the places you visit to avoid possible enemy ambushes. These ambushes don't allow automatic battle and can definitely take you by surprise, if it wasn't a surprise, it wouldn't be worth anything, right? This happened to me and it was very discouraging, since the enemy team was a little more prepared and I ended up taking a beautiful defeat. Diplomacy and allies. Being diplomatic is a very valid virtue when it comes to territorial expansion strategy. TWWH3 brings a simpler diplomacy system than the one seen in Humankind, but it works well for the game's purpose. We don't have many options and no rewards. It is not easy to use diplomacy and will imply territories that cannot be conquered after signing an alliance. For a lord to accept your proposal, it will be necessary to balance things out, either in the bond with him or by paying a good amount for that proposal to be accepted. You can demand payments, not very advantageous if you are not very popular, or present them to please them. We can make peace treaties, not attack, share military units, remain in allied territory without consequences, trade agreements, among other things. Often, or rather, most of the time, they will start with a proposal, including demanding high payments from you. Invading territories that have treaties will result in a declaration of war and you will be seen as a traitor. Being a traitor is never advantageous, so it's not worth taking the risk. It is possible to break with the treaties, but be assured that this is what you intend to do. Counselor. The advisor has appeared several times in the previous images and is our guide. He is a companion who explains the functions of the game while we discover the news. Well, news that are practically constant even after hours of gameplay. A great way to guide the player and a companion during the game. Problems and bugs. Here's a part that's going to be tricky for some players. The game requires a very robust computer to play at the recommended settings and requires about 120 GB of storage. For what the game offers, do we have an optimized experience and within the standards necessary to work well? Well, it's not very optimized, at least it wasn't until the time of this review, at launch. I believe that some updates may make the hardware experience more consistent. The game has a significantly long loading time, which ends up requiring the use of SSD to avoid unwanted delays and crashes. The game crashed a few times during startup, but during gameplay there are almost no crashes, outside of the loading screens. We have frame drops and a very present serration. Regarding bugs, I saw few and the vast majority were related to armies during battles. At this point, we have to give a discount due to the high amount of things happening at the same time and the very high amount of characters on screen. Some moments, in mountainous environments, the camera entered in gaps present in the scenario and got tangled up, but effectively, in relation to bugs, nothing that gets in the way during gameplay. Extras, soundtrack, multiplayer, dubbing and blood aside. Strategy game soundtracks usually follow an orchestral medieval feel, and with Warhammer 3, that's not much different. The game has a sensational and well-crafted soundtrack. The calmer atmosphere during exploration and more intense during battles add an extra charm to the game, making the experience very pleasant and immersive. It really is an aspect that I cannot fail to mention. The game features a very complete multiplayer mode, allowing you to play the campaign mode with up to 8 players, a domination mode in the one-on-one system. In addition, it has customized and ranked battles to complement the battle atmosphere. One thing is for sure, alone is very good and with friends it will be even better. A point that I cannot fail to mention, as well as the soundtrack, is the dubbing that the game presents. The voices are sensational, especially the animations. The voices match the characters when they appear, and the narration fits perfectly into the campaign mode, in an atmosphere of journeys that will go down in history. I didn't even want to have to talk about it, but it will be necessary. As with previous Total War, Warhammer games, we don't have blood during battles. Why does it happen? Well, the blood is sold separately as a DLC. It's not usually very expensive, but it's a complete absurdity to happen, especially in a war game and with the motto of one of the factions, blood to the blood god. Conclusion. Total War, Warhammer 3 is definitely a milestone for the saga, raising its high bar to an even higher level. The game has a great storyline and great progression during gameplay. It offers a little bit of everything and works very well in what is offered, with the exception of blood. It's an excellent strategy game and a gateway for newer fans of the franchise, and for those who are already a fan, this game does not translate into a great gift. Total War, Warhammer 3 presents a vast possibility of exploration in different environments, with different factions to play and replay the campaign mode in different ways. The only problem encountered is that the game is not well optimized and has some performance issues, but as this review was produced a few days before the game's release, it is very likely that these issues have already been fixed, depending on when you are watching this review. With a fantastic soundtrack and sensational art, from the loading screen images to animations and ambience, you can see the care that the developers had to bring an excellent experience. It's a must-have title for fans, and as a personal recommendation, even if you're not a fan of the style, it's worth a try. Final grade, 9.2. For the production of this analysis, the game was played on the computer, from a copy of the game kindly provided by the producer Sega. Review written by Mr. Superfan Mr. and published on Revolution Arena website.